the Madman! Welcome to Trump Teachings Midrange Hunter. So here are some of the decks that competitive players chose to bring to the preliminaries, the spring preliminaries of Hearthstone. Some players made it pretty far with these lists. We see one unique Hunter deck out of here, which is RDUs, which is clearly a much more aggressive version, not even running Savannah Highmane. For the purposes of this video, though, we're going to be mainly talking about the Midrange Hunter deck, which is the version that runs Savannah Highmane. Midrange Hunter is a deck that tries to curve out from 1 mana to 6 mana, trying to play a powerful card every single turn, and it'll get you down low enough that the Hunter hero power will finish you off. Fairly straightforward deck to play, and it's nice on a budget as well. Note that even though every single player brought Hungry Crab to the tournament decks, Hungry Crab is kind of a tournament tech choice, because so many people are expected to bring Paladin in a tournament, you can expect to hit at least 33% of the meta with your Hungry Crab, due to Hydrologist or due to actual people who bring Murlocs, and it's actually better than that because you can hit Aggro Druid with the Hungry Crab as well. Some tech options are the aforementioned Hungry Crab, Galactic Crawler. You've got your choice of 5 drops between Bittertide Hydra, Tol'vir Warden, even Nesting Rock. You may or may not choose Deadly Shot to include in your deck. And then sometimes you want to put 1 or 2 copies of Direwolf Alpha or Rat Pack. There's some disagreement on Jeweled Macaw, and Firefly is way more popular in Midrange Hunter than I thought it would be. Tol'vir Warden, which I actually think of more as a mid-range card due to its ability to make the game prolong itself, actually sees play in RDU's Face Hunter deck, but not in anyone else's deck, which is unusual to me. The version that I brought to Austin DreamHack is a little bit outdated, but still a fairly good option with a Nesting Rock, Tol'vir Warden, and with Jeweled Macaws. Now, one cool version of Midrange Hunter is Disguised Toast Midrange Hunter. You recently hit Legend with it during the month of May with a list that costs only 1240 dust. It looks pretty much like the standard Midrange Hunter list. Some of the more expensive cards such as Rat Pack and Kindly Grandmother got replaced with budget options, but the core of the deck is still the same. I personally would replace one more Direwolf Alpha instead of Knife Juggler, which will actually make the deck even less expensive. Right here is the 23 core cards of Midrange Hunter. Across basically every deck, these 23 cards. And then you've got your choice of Direwolf Alpha, is it a 2 of, or is it a 1 of? Rat Pack, is it a 2 of, is it a 1 of? Tundra Rhino, is it a 2 of, or is it a 1 of? They'll typically run another 3 1-drops on top of this Alley Cat. They'll typically run an extra 2 5-drops on top of the 1 Tundra Rhino. So that right there is 5 cards. And then you have 2 more flex cards, usually some sort of tech card or just some kind of standalone good card, or just doubling up on duplicates that you already have, such as Rat Pack or Direwolf Alpha. So a list that is currently placing the best in terms of statistics on HS Replay is a list running 2 Firefly, 1 Jeweled Macaw, 2 Direwolves, 1 Galactica, doubling up on the Tundra Rhino, and 1 Infested Wolf. When I look at this list, though, I actually see some things that can be optimized on. I look at the Infested Wolf, and I compare it with Rat Pack, and I'm like, I just think the Rat Pack is better. So I would replace the Infested Wolf with a Rat Pack. I also am in the camp that is more of the 1 Tundra Rhino. The Tundra Rhino is a very powerful card. You can play it on 5 and then charge out a Savannah Highmane or other powerful cards afterwards, but of course, the stat baseline on the card is pretty bad. I myself am a big fan of Tol'vir Warden. There are enough 1-drops in this deck that you can get amazing value out of Tol'vir Warden. And when you're adding a card like Tol'vir Warden in, I compare Jeweled Macaw to Firefly, and at the cost of 1 health, you're getting a random beast over a 1/2 elemental. This is perhaps unpopular opinion, but the addition of Tol'vir Warden further secures this line. I'm going to remove a Firefly for a Jeweled Macaw. Jeweled Macaw, sometimes a 2 of, sometimes a 0 of. It varies on player. I think those Alterations make this deck more consistent in the early game. You can lead off with insane starts such as Alley Cat into Direwolf Alpha. Even Jeweled McCall into Direwolf Alpha is powerful because you can possibly kill a 2 health minion. It's a very powerful list. The basics of it are simple. You really want to play a 1-drop, you want to play a 2-drop following that, you want to play a 3-drop after that, you really want to play a 4-drop, hopefully while you have a beast on the board, and then a 5-drop, and then a 6-drop. It's not always going to end up that way, but if you're doing that, you're looking pretty good. Mid-range decks typically want to play on curve. This deck is a little bit more aggressive than the usual mid-range deck, only because of its hero power. You usually want to be a little bit aggressive with this. Even though it is a mid-range deck, you'll sometimes do the control deck and you'll want to like trade and you'll want to prevent yourself from dying. But against other mid-range decks and against control decks, you're going to be the one looking to deal a lot of damage in the early game and then close it out with the hero power. But notably, even though this is Hunter, against aggressive decks, you are the control deck and you're looking to stem the bleeding. And then finally, when you have control of the board, you attack for a lot, probably about twice, and then you win. The Mulligan strategy with this deck is pretty simple. It's the same against every single deck because you're a proactive deck and you're trying to get your plan done. You'll always keep any of these 1-drops. You'll always keep Crackling Razor Maw because it's so good. Even if you don't have a 1-drop, you do hope to draw a 1-drop, but if you don't, then you play the Crackling Razor Maw on 2, it's a 3-2, that's too bad. But if you do draw a 1-drop, the adaptation is worth a lot, and you always keep Kindly Grandmother. You also keep Galactic Crawler against decks that you suspect might run Pirates. That would be Warrior, and that would be Rogue. And if you have a 1-drop, you'll keep the Galactic Crawler anyways. If you have a 1-drop, you'll also keep Direwolf Alpha, because then you can go 1-drop, 2-drop. If you have both a 1-drop and a 2-drop, then you'll usually want to keep a 3-drop. Any 3-drop except Unleash and Kill Command. Against control decks, you won't want Eagle Horn Bow. So Rat Pack and Animal Companion is usually what you're looking for. 1, 2, 3. It's as simple as that.
Let the games begin. Let the hunt begin.
Alright, I'll keep Kindly Grandmother, and as I have a 2, I'll keep the Animal Companion, one of the best 3s you can keep. Other than Rat Pack, which is arguably better. It didn't even matter if he's playing a control type mage or a secret aggressive type mage. You're almost always looking for exactly the same things against pretty much every deck as this deck. Rexxar is doing pretty well as a pace card deck right now. Not an unfair deck, but you know, just a nice, fair, happy deck. Rexxar is legit.
An incredible discovery.
The better to eat you with.
So it's a little bit of an interesting position where I don't actually know if he's playing Discover Mage or if he's playing Secret Mage yet. Let's start with Crackling Razor Maw. Less bad for him to take that than the Grandmother, if it's Mirror Entity. Plus 3 health, lets that survive. That's pretty good.
Run away.
And I'll use the 4/4 to kill the 2/3 because then the 3/2 plus the Fire Blast can't kill this card. Against a Secret Mage deck, you'll notice that I immediately turned into a control deck. Sometimes you play the control deck, and this is one of those matchups.
Well played. Thanks.
These unleashes aren't even going to be that useful. Secret Mage typically doesn't run a lot of AoE, so happily just go ahead and play that, especially since I have the second one as well. And continue to control. even gonna break the guide. This requires a little bit of game knowledge. This is a good card to protect against AoE, but that deck probably doesn't have very much of it, so I'm just going for sheer power on the board. With 2 mirror entities out of the way, I can play the Savannah Highmane safely now.
I'm late. I'm late.
Probably counterspell. Just like good old vanilla Hearthstone, it turns out if you play Savannah Highmane with this deck while you're ahead, you typically just win. So that's the kind of position you typically want to maneuver yourself into as a mid-range hunter deck.
We have many secrets.
I have 6, 7, 8, 11 damage there. I'll use Unleash to trigger Counterspell since Animal Companion will typically be better. There can never be lethal this turn, unfortunately. But it will be close. Unless I get Misha. A little bit of split damage at the end, even though I'm up against an aggressive deck. At some point, you flip the switch. In Hunter, there's always like a right time to flip the switch. That differs per matchup. Sometimes it's since turn 1, where you just go all out into the face. What a lucky taunt he got there.
Run away.
But at some point, you flip the switch, and then you finish him with the hero power. And hopefully with Eaglehorn Bow and Kill Command, you do have reach.
Checkmate. Well done.
Animal Companion is good, but this deck wants to curve out so much that I'm going to toss it. If I had a 2-drop, I might keep the Animal Companion. But especially against Rogue, you're looking to race them down, so missing a drop is not really an option. That's a good hand. This is one of those matches where you're the pure aggressor. If the Rogue plays Quest on turn 1. Alright, so this is one where you just go for the face. Though it is there's a little bit more to it than just that, I have to admit. Let's see, do I want to start with Direwolf Alpha or Razor Maul? The Razor Maul is a slower card, so better to play it first. It's a card that takes a little bit more time to get its value, I should say. Direwolf Alpha gets its value immediately, so you can play it more proactively. You can play it more responsively, rather. That was the wrong word. So this is one of those decks which is actually pretty good against Rogue. You're kind of playing against yourself, so to say, on how good your draw is. If you curve out well, then you're looking to beat them up pretty hard. And that's good! If you ever wanted to beat up Rogue, this is a pretty good deck to do it on, and it's pretty inexpensive too. You even have Galactic Crawler for those pirates. If the other stuff wasn't enough. Rogue has a problem with dealing with a bunch of guys on the board. And Rogue also has a problem with healing. It turns out that Midrange Hunter is pretty good at both of those. Here's the desperation. Worth mentioning with this deck, keep in mind the positioning. It can really matter. due to the shuffling of the wolf. So try to place all the low health minions near the wolf so that the cards naturally shuffle towards the wolf. And at the end, when you're like chipping that final damage, it's often better to use the hero power over play another minion. Just to guarantee that he moves further down on damage, further down on health total, so you can finish him easier with a draw of Eagle Horn, so you're less vulnerable to AoE. Using the hero power is kind of a counter to AoE, since you advance your goal of killing the opponent, and your hero power can't be stopped, really. And that's how you use the noble Rexxar to defeat those scumbag rogues. The nice thing about the Firefly is it also acts as a 2-drop, since you can play 2 of them on turn 2. So you've seen a Secret Mage game. This may or may not still be a Secret Mage. I'll go Kindly Grandmother, since this will lead into a situation which is good with 2 out of the 3 animal companions, Leok or Misha. Huffer would be very unfortunate. Leok will push one of the 1-attack minions into 2, and Misha is just big enough to hold against these guys. Or I could just go Rat Pack and get a guaranteed good result. Yep. Often with Animal Companion, you'll be stuck with 2 choices that are good and 1 choice that is bad, and you'll usually play the Animal Companion there, but the one proactive play that can rival it is just Rat Pack. It's also worth keeping the Firefly in my hand in case it's a Secret Mage, because that is a really good card to test a secret with. Very interesting, the opponent chose to Fire Blast over play a secret. That might imply that it's Discover Mage. And because of that, I will actually play Firefly and Animal Companion. There's also still a Elemental anyways after this.
Run away.
Someday I'll be just like you.
So the Sorcerer's Apprentice gives me enough pause to think that it could be a Secret Mage. So I'm going to keep the Flame Elemental in my hand in order to counter Mirror Entity. That's not too bad, it kills off his own apprentice as well. The Volcanic Potion makes me realize that it's not Secret Mage, and it is in fact Discover Mage. So from here on out, it's going to be a lot of aggression. Surprise. The opponent is not low enough to use the hero power yet.
We have many secrets.
Oh, it's Secret Mage. Tricked. So in theory, he would never play Mirror Entity since he knows that I have a Flame Elemental in my hand. So it must be Counterspell. So I should play Crackling Razormaw. How smart is my opponent? He's playing Volcanic Potion and Secret Mage, so he can't be that smart. Unleash the Hounds doesn't look like it'll ever be that good, so I could just play it to test for Counterspell right now. I know he has another secret in his hand. It's most likely Mirror Entity, although it could be another Counterspell. Yeah, it looks like there's no good traits for him, so I'm gonna just go face. As I confidently place the flame elemental. Yeah, we'll keep going face, he's low enough now. And I got a bow. That's the switch, basically. There's that moment where you're like, oh, the opponent has no good trades, I'll go for face. Or, oh, he's low enough, let's just go for face.
I'm late. I'm late.
I can't believe he runs Ice Block in that deck. So it's actually more of a discovery. It's like a hybrid deck. Definitely want to eliminate as much damage from the board as possible.
I hunt alone.
Well played.
So what? Fireball would do it. Would Fireball Frostbolt do it? That would also do it. Phew. Well, that was an interesting hybrid deck between Discover Mage and Secret Mage.